Okay, Nancy. Yeah, and I'll take a look and look up your laptop model and see if I can find any functions for muting from the keyboard or something that could have possibly happened. I'm not sure, but I would give it a quick reboot and see if that helps, because sometimes things get weird with software. Mhm. All right, sorry about that. I'm
All
just
right.
trying to figure out what's going on with her.
I'm not feeling well, so I'm not dressed enough to want to be seen on video. So that's why I have my video off.
Okay.
Now I know Damon Miller is supposed to
Sorry,
join because he's doing a presentation.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so John, sorry, I was connected to my laptop, so I was getting double audio. John's enabled recording and live streaming. I'm gonna start up the YouTube stream here in just a second.
Okay.
Carrie, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Once this reboots, I'm going to try to go in on my computer, but
Okay.
for now, I'll do this.
Got the live stream going on YouTube. I'm just gonna change the title of it. So I gotta boot up and up. Got it.
Maybe I'll just mute this picture. Let's see.
Doorbell's annoying.
Yeah, sorry about the sound for that, but it lets me know if there's somebody in the waiting room. And it doesn't seem like there's a way you can just add it to the administrator, which is a little frustrating, but we're in pretty good shape in terms of streaming and recording. So whenever you guys are ready, should be good to go. Well, I'm not sure I've heard audio from the room yet. So John, if you're listening, maybe make sure that the mic's on. I think it has to be on video call or whatever to get the audio processing correctly.
Seems we're having some glitches tonight. I went to take a phone call from Dwayne, and I got booted, so I apologize for that. All right, so we're gonna start the meeting. This is the Borough of Morrisville Borough Council meeting for Monday, May 17th, 2021. I'm gonna call this to order. First, we're going to have a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like everyone to remember two former members of council that we lost within the last month. Firstly, we lost Jeff Johnson, who was also the current Morrisville Municipal Authority Chair. And more recently, we tragically lost Dave Ney. Our heartfelt condolences go out to their families for their loss. Can we please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Virginia, when you're ready, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Ravella? Councilman Bowers?
Here.
Councilwoman Halaho? Councilman Nickel?
I just heard him.
And I
He's-
thought
He's here. He's here. Dwayne, you're here, right? You can hear us? All right. He's having a problem with his audio as well.
Okay, yes, and I thought I did see Helen on the screen, but I guess they can't hear us. Okay, Councilman Parker?
Here.
Councilman Paul?
Here.
Councilman Robinson?
Here.
Councilwoman Sherlock?
Here.
And Councilman Yeager?
Here.
Can you guys,
Our
oh,
vote-
there, all right, we're good.
No, you need to do roll call again because I didn't hear my name and I'm here because we didn't hear you.
Our volume just came on, just to let everybody know.
Okay,
All right.
Councilwoman Halaho?
Here.
And Councilman Nickel? Okay. Our borough solicitor is here, I see. Randy?
Scott Holbert and I are both here. That's correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Micah Heights?
Here.
I think that's everyone except for Mr. Nickel.
Mr. Nickel is present on Zoom.
Okay,
I think he's having audio issues,
okay. Thank you, Ted.
but I can see him.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
I don't know. Am I heard? No.
Yes.
Yes, Nancy.
Oh, you can? Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. Okay. I rebooted.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, which is announcements and presentations. And 4A is Damon Miller, the president of the Morrisville School District Board of Directors. His topic is the unique zip code designation for Morrisville.
That's my cue.
That's your cue.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just want to take a few minutes of your time. You may have received a letter that I had sent to council members in regards to an effort that we as a school district are trying to separate ourselves and to hopefully gain the appropriate funding that we would be receiving as a school district, separating ourselves from the 19067 zip code. Back in, I believe it was spring of last year, there was a press conference done by Senator Saniciero, as well as attended by Representatives Perry Warren, as well as John Galloway. Myself was there. I believe Mr. Parker was there as well. And we all spoke on behalf of the needed funding for the school district and how a lot of the funding that is determined is determined by income based within your school district. We believe that there is a strong argument that the separation, or excuse me, the combination of 19067 with more affluent neighborhoods within Lower Makefield, as well as Falls, skew our income levels to a point where our funding is not at the levels that it should be. Case in point, when you look at Bristol Borough, where a number of, the majority of their district has their own zip code and a little bit is shared by Bristol Township, they receive $4 million more, or nearly $4 million more in state funding than we do. And their demographics are relatively similar. Not saying that we would receive $4 million, but it would certainly does not line up in the way that Bristol Borough receives money, as well as when you compare it to Morrisville Borough. With that in mind, during that press conference, a few months later, Representative Fitzpatrick ended up sending a letter stating that he would look into the situation. He inquired at the U.S. Postal Service because that is where this would need to be determined. The post office then responded back and said that a letter would be required from borough officials asking for the post office to look into, to examine the request and to figure out whether or not it would be a viable solution. It's not the easiest solution. It's not the best solution, I don't believe. But I believe that this is one way that we can hopefully have the school district, if it is to remain on its own, and that is totally undetermined at this point in time, and who knows when it would ever change. If we are to be on our own, I believe that it's only fair for us to receive the funding that is really due to us. And the only way to do that is by making this effort of separating ourselves by zip code through the Postal Service. We as a school district would be more than willing, and we would be happy to help write the letter if you need it, or give you the facts that we need to have stated within the letter to help give the Postal Service the most information they could possibly have in regards to making a determination. I don't have much else unless you have any questions.
Okay. Questions?
I have a quick question, Damon.
Mhm.
Mike Yeager. So what assessments were done to ensure that this would actually impact us in the right way? I know there's a perception that we're low income, and I think in a lot of situations it's a correct perception. But now you're going to shrink the overall amount of people that are being looked at. And in Lower Makefield, I would agree that there are some neighborhoods that are more affluent than us. And that's fine, but there's also a lot of retirees that you'd be taking out of the equation that don't have that kind of income anymore, that you might not get the same offset that you're hoping. Was there any analysis done that makes you relatively sure that if we make this change, it'll impact us properly?
Well, part of the problem is that the facts or the figures that have been looked up, when you compare different reports, none of them are consistent. And so we're not necessarily shrinking down anybody, because we would be getting a more accurate level of income within the district, which is within the borough boundaries. So if we're including people from across the street, say of Trenton Avenue, or even, Plaza Boulevard, or, I mean, there are areas where, people are going to be possibly of a higher income than their neighbor across the street. Those people should not be within our school district. They should not be claiming them, Morrisville Borough, as their school district when they do their income taxes. And that's where some of the problem is lying, is that when people go and get their taxes done, or if they do it for the first time themselves or whenever, they could be claiming the wrong school district. Reports are given to the school district for them to review, but that's all just a hand and eye, looking through and making sure that everybody is correct. Every school district receives these reports. They're an Act 80 report.
Understood.
And so, I mean, again, it would be giving a more accurate level, and it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be hurting anybody in regards to their income or hurting them in any way. If anything, it may even help the borough as far as receiving grants and funding, showing that, what the income level is, within the school, within the borough.
Yep, I'm on board with that. I understand. I think you misunderstood me when I was talking about shrinking. I'm talking about taking my people out of your denominator, which will throw off your averages, right? So, but to your point, there's going to be some that are high. There's going to be some that are low. You're going to be dwindling it down to just what's in Morrisville Borough. But my next question is: hasn't this been an issue for many, many years that we've been manually adjusting?
It has been an issue for many, many years, and it's been an issue that I have been asking about for many, many years as well.
Mhm.
Finally, it's getting the attention of those who believe that something should be done, because there's really nothing else that seems to be able to be done.
So in those past years when we were manually adjusting it, did we get a benefit from the manual adjustment that would make it more, that would true up those numbers better? Or was it pretty much a wash anyway?
Well,
And I'll preface
I don't know if
why
I can
I'm
really,
asking.
go ahead,
David,
go ahead.
I'll preface why I'm asking is because the comment of this could somehow in some way potentially avoid a merger in the future. That's why I'm digging down a little bit more into this, because if it's something that's that we are relatively confident, and I used this term earlier before because there's no way to ever be 100% sure, but if we're relatively confident that this is going to impact the school district favorably, it may be worth taking that risk. but I have an issue not knowing for sure if it's going to help us, and putting us in a position where we may be eliminating in the future the potential of any cooperation with any other districts.
Well, I would say that in regards to separating ourselves with the zip code, I believe Tullytown has their own zip code and they're part of the Pennsbury district.
Yep.
So, I mean, there are other areas. It's not, Falls has their own, Fairless Hills, whatever. So there are a number of zip codes within the Pennsbury school district that I don't believe having our own, and then, if it turns out to be a few years later or 10 years later or 20 years later, having our own zip code is going to be showing that it's a detriment to us, to merging. I think and I can't read, in between the lines in regards to why people put certain things in words and in letters. But I would say that, there's, because of the history behind merging not happening, I believe that everyone is just trying to look out for the best interest in saying that if this by chance doesn't happen, we've at least are looking at an alternate way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question? And in
Yes,
regard,
thanks.
and in regards to whether or not we know if it's going to help us or not, the changes that we make within the Act 80 report, when we report back to the state to say this person shouldn't be within our income rolls, and this, and then Pennsbury gets ones that should be in ours, and and so forth. And there's people that we get stuff from other states at
Sure.
times as well. So it's really hard to say, because the changes that we're making are so minor that we're only talking dollars. This is something where it would hopefully allow us to actually see what the actual income is within the school district and align it with more of the proper funding.
Okay, thank you.
Is it a 100%? I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know.
I have a
That's
question.
really,
Damon, what do you think the average income is? Like, what do you think it currently is, and what do you think it's going to go down to?
I have no idea. I don't know the answer to either one of those. I'm sorry.
Well,
I can look that up for you and get back to you.
There's also, a lot of other things within the town. I mean, I understand the school and the funding with the school, but, there's things in town that will get impacted. For instance, Little League, the charter is for 19067. So I don't know how that would impact Little League in Morrisville. I mean, there's a lot of initiatives with the town. And at this point, I don't know that I can have an answer what impacts would occur. If we wanted, not that this is going to happen, Chief, but if we ever wanted to merge police departments with Fallsington, having a different zip code, does that hinder that? Not that that's happening. I'm just like putting an example out. Like having different zip codes, just like Fitzpatrick said, hindering the school merger by having a different zip code. So I have a lot of questions and reservations about this.
Okay. Thank you.
Ted, can I?
Go ahead.
Ted, Damon, what in your own personal analysis with the rest of the board, what downside is there to this? Did you come up with any?
No, not really.
Cons?
I mean, the downside is that, I mean, obviously I think it's more on the borough end of residences, having to have to change their mailing address and changing, their forms and driver's licenses and, and every other little piece of paper and document that we all have. It's more of that inconvenience than I think that it is necessarily a downside within the school district itself.
So it would have to be a whole new number. It couldn't be like 1906A and B?
Well, I've done a little bit of research on this, and there's one request that I have is throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Personally, I don't think it's going to. because looking at the Postal Service, looking at all the issues that they have financially and everything else, I can't see them going through this effort, primarily because my understanding is that every zip code needs to have their own post office.
Location?
Yes, they need to have their own post office for distribution and such. So I can't see where this would even happen. So I'm
Excuse me.
leery on, excuse me?
Damon, that's not true because the Levittown Post Office in Levittown at 5 Points handles Levittown. Multiples
Right.
handles
Multiple
multiple.
zip code?
19054, 19055,
19054,
56,
195,
58.
56, 57, 58.
Okay,
And
all right, well, that's good to know
Yeah, so
because,
that- and as to the other question, the legal question, merging police departments, merging anything, makes no difference legally. My office used to be 19047 until I moved in and printed all my stationery. Then they told me they were switching post office, that became 19053. So that's all you did is change the stationery and we were back in business. But there's no legal, whatever council wants to do is completely fine, but the changing of the zip code does not in any way invalidate any agreements that you have. All that is the post office has changed your zip code. It has nothing to do with the legality of any agreements. Thank you.
thank you.
No, I have a
Mr. Mayor,
question.
this is Micah
Damon.
Heights, the interim
Oh.
borough manager. I got a quick question for you. You seem to have said a lot of positive things for the school, but not too many positive things for the borough. Is there anything positive for the borough if this changes?
I don't know borough finances, so I would have to ask that on your end as far as, how that would affect the possibility of receiving grants and other funding. I do not know the answer to that. This is the request. The request that I'm making is for you to simply write a letter to the post office. No final decisions are being made. If we cross that bridge and says, and the post office says, sure, you can do it if you want, then, there would probably be more, I would hope there would be more conversations about this. But again, at this point in time, all that I'm asking for is a letter. I think there's a different solution. I think there's a different solution, but there's ones that, could take years down the road, but if we're heading towards a certain direction, who knows? But again, it's more about putting the feelers out there, casting a wide net, however you want to phrase it, and saying, what's the best thing that we can do? How it affects the borough, I would not know.
I have a
Scott's
question.
done. When
Damon?
Scott's done. Yeah.
As far as changing a zip code, I know that it was done in a couple towns in New Jersey over the last 20 years. I don't believe this is something we can even do as council. When zip codes get changed or moved around, it's a process of every mailing address in the area that's going to be affected gets a survey card, and it needs to be returned, and there needs to be a certain percentage of people need to respond, either yes or no. To change it, you would have to have like a 75, I think it's 75%, maybe it's 85%, I'm not sure the exact number. So, I mean, I don't think we can do this as council, or that the school board can do it. This will be something that the post office will have to start. They'll mail a postcard out to every single address in the 6, 7, and then go depending on the response. So, I mean, even if this were to happen, we're looking at, a couple of years down the line. And also, the question also came up about how this could affect the borough. I mean, let's be realistic. We live in a world, some people have more money than others. Okay, we can hate the millionaires, we can talk about, but unfortunately or fortunately, we live in a capitalism is, that's what we do. If this were to happen though, and we were to be a 19068 zip code, needless to say, it would be, when it comes to direct marketing, just out there in the world, we would probably get knocked down a couple notches on the, what the income scale is. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to be getting mailers for stuff that I don't need or whatever, but I think that the town, would be looked at differently. I don't know if I'm being clear enough, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's probably stuff that the residents in town don't receive in their mailboxes right now because, direct marketers or ad agencies or whatever are out there looking, saying, "Now this isn't going to work here. This is for a lower income area," where that angle could potentially affect us. And I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I'm sure there's people in town that may be interested in stuff, and I might be myself could be, but there could be a it's there's a lot more to this than just changing the zip code.
I understand what you're saying in regards to the process, and I believe the Postal Service did say that there would be a survey that would be sent out. Again, I'm just asking for a letter to be sent to state, could you look into this to see if it's a viable possibility? Right. That's all that we're doing at this point in time. No decisions is being made on a change. Borough Council is not voting to make this change tonight, or if they have to make this, whatever their part of the process is. Part of the process that the Postal Service would probably do would be a survey before they determine whether or not it's something that would happen.
Right, and it'll be a long way down. Over in Jersey, Princeton Junction, which is what used to be like West Windsor, but now that they renamed it Princeton Junction, and that was made up of 3 different zip codes for the longest time. Right. And they finally got their own zip code, Princeton Junction mailing address, about 10 years ago. And for the 50 years before that, it was Cranberry, Lawrenceville, and Robbinsville. And they had been trying to consolidate that for the better part of 20 or 30 years. They finally got it done. So, and the odds of when if let's say they go ahead and do this, and the post office sends out the survey, the odds of it happening on the first mailing are slim to none. I mean, unless there's a humongous awareness effort out there saying, look for this in your mailbox, people are going to get that survey, they're going to throw it in the garbage, they're going to think it's junk mail, and it's so.
It's possible. I don't know what their request for responses are or anything of that nature.
Right.
But the letter wasn't very specific in regards to that. I mean, the only thing that I would say is that you mentioning about separating ourselves from the millionaires or so forth. We're in a situation where there are a number of residents who are concerned on a yearly basis regarding their taxes, school taxes.
I think it's the better part of the borough.
Excuse me?
I think it's the better part of the borough. You ask anybody in town, the number one thing they talk about is school taxes.
Right. So why don't we want to try to do something to help alleviate that if we could get, and if it's possible, I mean, again, I'm not saying that it is, but we need to look into it further. Right. That why are we going to shoot ourselves in the foot at this point in time to not even send a letter for an inquiry, to not explore the option to possibly reduce the tax burden on school taxes for all of the residents within Morrisville Borough.
Ted, may I say something? So this is really a letter regarding exploratory discussion.
Yes.
But when you ask what, and I've been waiting, and of course you all answered the question, what does it do for the borough? Well, right now, what's it, 75%, 76% of the taxes are school taxes that everybody pays. So if this will be, it's not going to put, even if we were to get half of the 4 that Bristol seems to get more, even if we get the extra 2, that's really not, it's not a stopgap, but it may, maybe you won't have to raise them next year. That would be one plus.
What we would be
Another
able to do
plus-
with what we would be able to do with $2 million would be to not raise taxes over a number of years just by going by how much we raise taxes every year, just using the simple math.
So again, it's
I
a
agree with you, Nancy.
short-term solution.
I
And the
agree
other-
with you, Nancy. I think it's a no-brainer to look at it.
Yeah. Thanks. I think we should. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any harm in it right now. And who knows, if we get a landfall, maybe there's a program you could offer at the school. I mean, so when you say, what does it do for the borough? I know we're supposed to separate ourselves, and I do for the most part, but what's good in the school ends up being good for the borough.
I would agree with that.
So anyway, so
So Damon, I know that there's a zip code +4 and a zip code +5, and I know Morrisville has a different +4 than Yardley does in Lower Makefield. Is there something you could do where you pull the numbers by using at the +4?
I'm not sure if everyone files their taxes with a +4. So I think that that's part of the issue as well.
good point.
So now, just to be clear, you're asking for a letter from council?
Well, from
Yeah.
the administration.
Yes, that would ask the post office to explore the option of a new zip code for Morrisville Borough.
Well, at this time, I would not feel comfortable writing that letter. I would have to do more research, if you want my opinion.
Yeah, I think we need some research as well as to what we think that income level will go down to.
Well, I would probably look at your census. Unfortunately, the census doesn't qualify or isn't a factor that's used within state funding. They use other reports.
I couldn't determine who said they weren't comfortable writing a letter. Where did that come from? I didn't see it.
Micah.
Yeah, but it's not, that's a council decision.
Right.
Whether that letter goes out. That's got nothing to do with,
That's what I asked, and he said it was from the
I would just say-
administration.
well, no. It's
Everything
not-
comes from the administration. The council doesn't
Yeah,
write
if the council
letter.
decides
It
to
comes
do
from the
something, it's
borough.
done.
At the
But what-
direction of council, if council votes to issue a letter, then we would work with the school district, the administration would work with the school district to draft the letter so that it's worded properly. Council doesn't write a letter, the administration does.
One other point, Mr. President, I hate to keep butting in here, but someone asked, what would it do for the borough? Besides, I heard Nancy's comment, councilwoman is correct, that what's good for the school district can be good for the borough. But when this last thing, which was unusual, when we all received money from this stimulus act, whatever it's called, whatever the technical name of it is, Bristol Township, which I also represent, came out in a lower run as far as their income level, and they got significantly more, even for their population, than other municipalities would the same size that were more affluent. So that's just an example. I think that may answer some of that question.
I have a question, Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need this to be voted on tonight, or can we take one meeting cycle to bring it up next meeting?
The choice is yours, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, sorry, I don't mean to say that. I mean, it's like,
I'm sorry, Kim Connor here. I have a question, and please forgive my ignorance because I'm very new to this.
Who's this?
This is Kim Connor. My question is.
This is council's presentation. It's not public
Okay,
comment.
so be quiet, Kim.
Please.
Okay, no problem.
So Damon, would it be a big burden to wait one more cycle so that everybody can digest what you said tonight?
Sure. I mean, my point is that the longer we wait, the longer it takes to write it, the longer it takes for a response. So, we're just trying to keep the ball rolling and moving on every direction that we possibly can, including other directions, and, seeing where we can go with this. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, again, do I think that it will work? looking at what the Postal Service and their situation is, I can't see it working, but I may be very wrong. And like Mr. Flager said, that if it's, where a distribution center like the post office on Trenton Road there is able to handle more than one zip code, then that handles that major hurdle that I had seen through my layman's inquiry. So, again, the letter would be just to start to see whether or not it would happen or could happen.
Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if they start this and they go through the expense of figuring that out, I mean, it'll be really bad if we sat there and all of a sudden said, no, thanks. I mean, it'll probably be a done deal.
I don't,
What was that again?
I don't know. Kim Connor, could you turn yourself to mute?
Ted, I have a question.
go ahead, Nancy.
Can we, I don't know how the rest of council feels. I know that Mike said that he didn't see any real downside to an exploratory letter. What is the purpose of what are we going to find out in the next month?
I mean, there seems to be some members of council who may be uncomfortable with just, having the presentation and then moving to a motion so quickly. So I thought maybe if we gave it a meeting cycle, but I mean, I can also ask, council, do we want to add this to the agenda?
I mean, I think we all received a letter. In fact, I received a letter last fall from Congressman Fitzpatrick. And I think it's not a new subject. So, but I mean, if people aren't comfortable enough doing it now, then so be it. But I just don't understand what more we would find out.
I'll chime in if I could. I'm in favor of looking into it, but I do think it makes sense to wait until next month, because I'd even be able to reach out to some folks, ask some questions, reach out to the post office myself and find out what their impacts are. Look at some things like, for instance, when it changes, how many problems is that going to cause for residents and how many complaints is that going to create, if any? So they're the kind of things that I'd like to know before I go ahead and vote on something. Although I did get the letter and I read it, I haven't had time to really research it or get any kind of understanding on the impact on the borough side at all. So I'd like that opportunity.
Okay, so sounds like we wait.
Anyone else would like to give their opinion as to whether to continue tonight and put it on the agenda or to wait one cycle?
I would like to wait. I'd like to wait.
Okay.
I would like to wait, Ted. And again, back to the when you change the zip code, my question is, what will it do to property values? Our borough is, unfortunately, we're being lumped in with Lower Makefield and Yardley and everyone that's in the 6-7 zip code, and it's hurting us just with with the school. But we're also being lumped into in a property value when people are buying a house or looking at houses in the 6-7 zip code. If we're our own zip code, I mean, that could potentially have our property values in the borough plummet. It could. I'm not saying it will. It's a possibility. And one more, another question for Damon. You were saying before you were saying other avenues. What are our other avenues?
Well, I mean, it's been, publicized in the paper in regards to, merging or whatever, but who knows where that's going to go, if it's going to go anywheres. But we constantly pursue that option. We're always in contact with Pennsbury and particularly when things changed over there in regards to boards and superintendents and board presidents and such. So you never know when something may, I don't have my crystal ball with me tonight, but you never know where something is going to happen. So, I mean, there's that. And, another option that I had seen as a way around the zip code issue was changing, not a significant change, but a possible change of the mailing address of the town, where we would be, my address would end with Morrisville Borough, Pennsylvania 19067. So that would help that would help designate.
Right.
And my understanding is that's a lot easier of a change to be done. So,
Right.
I mean, that's
Because
another,
I can put Yardley on something, it'll come to my house.
exactly.
I put Yardley, I get mail, right.
But if you're
Now, let
mailing
me
it,
ask you a quick school board question, Damon. I saw something on a screen picture that someone sent me. I don't know how true it was, but I saw an incredibly disturbing campaign hit at between school board candidates in the Pennsbury district today. It was probably, I shouldn't say probably, it was definitely the most racist thing I've seen in years. I mean, it flat out disturbingly racist. Like, I looked at it and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it was an attack on, I guess, school board candidates that they're, and listen, there's some people in the Pennsbury School Board not going to come out and they're going to say, yeah, if I get elected, I'm going to merge with Morrisville. But, there's people, thinking, well, I'll talk to them, whatever. And it had to do with, making an accusation towards people. It was basically saying, if you want to merge with Morrisville, you're racist, is what it was. Are you aware of any issues with that board? Because, I mean, I don't know if you saw. I'll send it to you.
I saw it. I did
later.
see it. I'm not going to comment on the.
I mean, that is disgusting. That was disgusting. I mean,
I understand, Mr. Robinson. I'm not going to comment on the literature. I'm not going to do that. Having run for school board twice, things and social media stuff, that get posted, I've had things said about myself, and I'm not going to, entertain that. All that I know is that we continue to try to build a relationship with the Pennsbury current board. And if the board changes in any way, we would like to hopefully continue the conversation and build a relationship with them in the future. So, whoever they are, whoever they may be that ends up getting on the school board, God bless them, because it's a wonderful job to have. And, they'll be facing many issues. So that's all I got to
Damon,
say.
I have a question, Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Why, and maybe it is too simplistic, but why couldn't the state use the information that our tax collector uses? I mean, since the tax collector collects tax on every parcel within the confines of the borough and just the borough. I mean, why couldn't they use that information? I mean,
that's not the information that I believe that they end up using.
Ed, this is Justin. I like where you're thinking, but I'm just going to point out that the tax collector only collects your real estate taxes. They don't know anything about your income.
I know, but she has the information, and that's a way to weed out people who.
It's not. They don't know their income. They're not You're not using tax.
No, I know, but
it's
the
based
income
off
is
of the income.
derived from an area, and why couldn't the state use the area that the tax collector is using to collect property taxes from, to narrow its scope of individuals to assess the income?
It's based off of the reports provided when you file your income taxes. And if those reports are wrong, as in, if I end up saying that I'm in the Pennsbury School District, providing that whoever reviews those reports flags me as, no, you're a Morrisville Borough resident, I stay on the Pennsbury roll.
Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about now with the state tax, but that's an issue with the state. That's something the state could correct. I mean,
and the state has said that they would look into this, but unfortunately, they said that it was going to not be for a while, probably more towards the end of Governor Wolf's term, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because of consistency, to at least, not have to do the whole dog and pony show again to somebody else to get their attention.
All right. Well,
if you want to wait, listen, if you want to wait, I'm simply asking for the request to write the letter. If you have other questions, do need to do other research, by all means, I'm not the one who's going to criticize you for doing that, because I would want to do the same thing if I had questions and needed
Okay.
more information.
Ted,
That's what
Can we-
that's why you guys are there, to do your due diligence before making your decision.
could we ask Damon to send us what he would ask us to insert into that letter so that at least we can have that information that you're suggesting would be part of the letter? Would that be helpful? I mean,
Damon, would you do you have a draft of something that, or
I don't
an
have it.
outline
We can certainly give you some bullet points or
Okay. That would be good.
some information that would, to at least provide to show you what the direction is and the
Okay.
reason and the justification of why we're asking for it.
okay, that would be good.
Okay. Anybody else before Damon goes?
This is,
All right.
Justin. I just had
I'm
a
sorry. Go ahead,
quick
Justin.
comment since I didn't be able to get in. I agree with Nancy and Mike about going forward with a letter to explore this, but I do have a concern because when I'm reading this letter here from the Postal Service to Congressman Fitzpatrick, it basically says that the manager conducts a careful analysis of the cost and service implementations of the changes and determines whether or not it can be implemented. If the request cannot be implemented, the manager will explain why. If the request is feasible, then the customers who would be affected are surveyed to determine if there's sufficient support. So to me, that lacks any sort of another step for council to step in and be able to approve this or not after. It seems to me like they're saying if it's feasible, they're going to start moving ahead with it, and it not giving council the opportunity to decide whether they really want to move forward with it or not. So that's my concern. And
Well, I think ultimately the post office goes to their stakeholders, which would be the general population. I mean, council would, as representative of the borough, would, the borough residents would begin the process, and then they would have the final say.
Yeah,
So,
you
I
make
mean,
a good point, Ted.
I'm sorry?
I said you make a good point. I would also say that our letter should indicate that we're asking if it's feasible, that they should get back to us if it should, and not take action. Is what we're asking is it feasible? And we want a response. If it's feasible, don't take action, but please let us know so we can decide whether or not we want that action taken.
I'm sure we could add that in there.
Yep.
All right,
you
so
can add that in there, but you're telling that to basically a federal postal service that's going to do what they want. I mean, they're not going to probably take into consideration our secondary requests on a letter. But I mean, we can try.
Yeah, I don't work at the post office, but I think this would be a very large headache for the post office to now start to have to decipher
right. And
actually where it's going.
Considering their financial situation, I wouldn't hold this too much that they would be willing to move forward and make these kind of changes.
But I don't like the idea of having to change all my documents either. That's a pain in the neck, honestly.
All right, so we had a consensus to revisit this next meeting. So I think that's what we're going to do, Damon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we move on, I just want to let the public know that prior to this meeting, we had an executive session for legal issues. And then also at the mayor's request, we're going to be adding a motion, which would be 9H. And the motion is to start the process to hire, and I'm going to leave it question mark, full-time police officers. So that would be 9H. The mayor has requested, and so has the chief. We had an officer that retired. We have an officer that was terminated. So we'll put a number to it if we agree when we get to the motion. So, all right. So with that said, we're going to move on to public comment. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
All right, first we have Courtney Liu.
Hi, my name's Courtney Liu at 327 Hillside Avenue. I just wanted to say that we did the Riverwalk cleanup on Saturday, May 1st, and it went very well. We got a lot of trash up, but it's looking really great up there. And I just wanted to thank the guys who put the trash cans at the bottom of the steps. That was great. And I think it's encouraging people to, when they walk up there and have trash, to put it in those trash cans. So I want to thank them. I also wanted to share I wanted to say this publicly, my own sadness over the death of former Councilman Dave Ney. He was a neighbor of mine, a great neighbor of mine. And I don't know if it's appropriate to bring to council. I didn't really know where to go, but I live on the canal and I watched him build that red bridge with his own hands. And I think that he got the funds as well for all of the materials. And I'm just throwing this out to council. I wonder, since he's one of our own boys, one of our own people, if you would consider maybe a little plaque on the bridge built by Dave Ney, just something that crossed my mind because he's been so involved in our borough and built that bridge. So that's all I just wanted to say, and I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Nancy, Councilwoman Nancy Sherlock had brought that up to me about possibly naming the bridge after Dave.
That's what I thought too.
If I,
Yes, so
actually, it wasn't my idea. There were neighbors of, I didn't want to jut in during a public comment, but neighbors of Dave had approached me about it. And there's been discussion with the park ranger and Susan Miller from the canal, the executive director of the canal. And they're working that out.
That's wonderful news. That's great news.
And
Thank you.
I don't know it's going to speak. I don't know what the plaque is going to say, but
sure
at this time. And it's the neighbors that are offering to buy it and take care of it. So
that's wonderful.
But they have to work with the park ranger.
Okay,
on its place.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Noel Sperry.
All right, my name is Noel Sperry. I live at 531 Prospect Avenue in Morrisville. Hello, council. Hello, everybody out there on TV. But hey, just gonna keep this short this time. On May 23rd, I mean, you guys may know that I'm a big fan of Fred Rogers and everything that he's done. He's a good guy. And everything he's done for people and for children throughout the years. But May 23rd is the 143rd day of the year. And in Pennsylvania, the DCED and Pennsylvania government has actually created a day called 143 Day. And this is a term that Fred Rogers actually coined in his TV show. And 143 is just a way to say, I love you. But what Pennsylvania has decided to do is take it on as a way to say thank you, and to people that give themselves out to the public and do a lot of work with like our healthcare workers, our teachers, our police officers, our medical people. So just if you get a chance on May 23rd, do something nice for somebody, just anybody. Say hello. Thank them for whatever they do in the neighborhood or whatever they do around town, whatever they do for your community. So that, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the Memorial Day Parade. All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Jane Berger.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's been a long day. Jane Berger, 90 West Maple Avenue here in Morrisville. With the lifting finally of all this COVID-19 restrictions, and yes, my mask is on, but it's down, I look forward to the council being able to return in person to council chambers, hopefully next month. We did have a telecommunications policy that as long as there's a quorum in the room, if there's 3 individuals that for whatever reason need to phone in or perhaps you want to continue Zoom, that would be wonderful. But it'll be nice to be able to have you all back in the chambers. And second, Mr. President, Ted, I look to you at the end of the meeting to give people the general information about Election Day tomorrow and hours and so on and so forth. Finally, about the zip code, that you do your due diligence for next month and consider the letter. We know 19068 is available. And going back, I'm going 15, maybe more years than that, a former state senator got a grant, and a young woman, wonderful community person, spent 6 weeks going through all the addresses and culled out every address that had been attributed to Morrisville Borough, but lived Falls, Lower Makefield, Yardley. People do not have children in the school district. They really don't always know where they live because their address says Morrisville. At the end of that study, they found out that the aggregate income, not looking at individual incomes of persons, but the aggregate income attributed to Morrisville Borough for its school district was $40 million. That is not chump change. And if you take that in today's dollars of going up 15, 20 years, you can understand that it's a much larger amount of money of wonderful people that don't live in the borough, but because they check off the wrong box on their state income tax, their income is attributed to us, and that aggregate income is a very important part of the state aid formula that comes to the borough, as Mr. Damon Miller had mentioned. So that is a great disservice to our families and the children in our school district that they think we have a much larger income than we do, and as you see, that can result in several $1 million in lost state aid. So, and as Mr. Sherlock rightly mentioned, a benefit to the borough is our residents hopefully not having to have further drastic increases in the school tax that they pay. So I would consider to get the wording on a letter, whatever safeguards you need, but to at least look into it and see if it is feasible. There was 2 years back in the 60s where Yardley actually had 19068, and I don't know why, I don't remember why they gave it up. So it is out there. It's something to look at, and it may or may not work, but I think given the financial situation of all of us, it's something that it's worth exploring and getting more information about. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Warenda.
Thank you. Excuse me. My name. See if I can. You can just take it out. My name is John Warenda. I live on South Delmore Avenue in Morrisville.
John,
Pardon me?
you need to speak down or re-angle that.
Can you hear me better?
Take that
Just take it out. How's this? Okay.
Good.
My name's John Warenda. I live on South Delmore Avenue in Morrisville. I didn't have any plan on speaking this evening, but I came upstairs because I was told that all the council members would be here. Where are you guys? Actually, yeah. Somebody remarked that the zip code issue is not a new subject. Maybe it's not. In fact, it's an old subject if you go back far enough. But the current iteration is news to me. And I frankly am concerned that apparently something's been going on for 6 or 7 months now. And many of us are finding out about the urgency of it just in the last 3 or 4 days. I don't understand why it's so urgent that somebody couldn't have brought it to our attention or brought it to council's attention formally, the written correspondence in October or November when this was more current at the time. One of the things you're being asked to do is to look into this further. I'm sorry that Mr. Miller's not here to answer the question, not that I expect to engage in a dialogue with him right now, but I'd like to know what they've done to this point that makes us believe that simply changing zip codes for our mailing address would fix the state funding formula problem. Some of you may know that I was president of the school board from 1983 until 1991. This is not a new problem. It's something we've had to wrestle with every year for decades, and the problem has to do with taxpayers not properly identifying their school district on their PA 40 tax returns. I'm not sure how simply changing the zip code fixes that. They still have to identify the school district in some way, shape, or form. It seems to me that it's a simplistic response to a complicated problem. One of my concerns is that you're being asked to inquire about the feasibility of it. Well, if you do that, if you ask if it's viable, that is an expression of interest in the change. So I think before you write a letter of any kind, there should be considerable more debate and understanding about what the problem really is here, because there are a lot of potentially unintended consequences to changing the Morrisville zip code. Not only changing everybody's documents, all of our letterheads, all of our mailing addresses on our personal information, there are going to be a lot of consequences to businesses, a lot of consequences to some of the things that some of us are trying to do to make Morrisville a more highly recognized, not a less recognized place on the map.
That's 3 minutes.
Someone can tell time. Thank you very much.
Just I don't know if you had come up early enough or heard, but we're not doing anything this evening. The consensus of council wanted to wait at least one more meeting cycle before we brought this up again at the next council meeting.
Ted, I know that, and I actually considered withdrawing my time, but I figured I was already here, and I'd expressed my personal feelings about it, such as they are on the record. For what it's worth, these are my personal observations about it, and based on my past experience as a school board member for 8 years, I will weigh in much more extensively between now and whenever you are asked to formally respond on this as council. I probably will be asking, however, the council write a letter expressing a lack of interest in making this change. For what it's worth, also, we have a, I'm also executive director of the Morrisville Municipal Authority, so for those interested, our meeting is this week on Thursday night. We lost our chairman recently, Jeff Johnson, who also was a prior member of council, and we will recognize his loss at our meeting. I think perhaps council should take note of that as well. Thank you very much.
I actually did mention his passing at the beginning of the meeting.
I'm sorry I wasn't here, Ted. My apologies.
Yeah, Ted, anybody who was in the Borough Hall did not hear that because we could not hear your sound.
Sorry to say that, but yeah, I had recognized the passing of both Jeff Johnson and Dave Ney, for those who were at Borough Hall and didn't hear it, prior to our moment of silence and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, that's it for the public comment sign up. Terry, do we have anyone online?
I don't currently see anyone with their hand up. If you were waiting to make public comment on Zoom, please make yourself known.
Kim Connor wanted to before, but she's muted.
She could unmute herself if she'd like to.
I just unmuted myself. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm sorry that I interrupted previously. I didn't understand the rules. My only question, and I realize...
excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but for the record, could you please state your name and your address?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Kim Connor, and my address is 530 Clymer Avenue in Morrisville.
Okay. Go ahead.
To be determined. Anyway, one of the questions that I had with respect to the rezoning was whether or not, or exactly how it would impact the number of students attending the schools. Does anybody have an answer to that question?
It doesn't. The zip
doesn't at
code,
all.
the zip code wouldn't. No, it doesn't change. Only residents of the borough are legally allowed to go to the school district. So changing the zip code to just Morrisville wouldn't change who is allowed to go.
But if we change the zip code, are we limiting the parameter of the borough? Or are we just adding another zip code? And I'm sorry if I'm not clear with my question.
I mean, I'm not.
Jim, the way the post office works in a lot of towns is the post office zip codes don't always determine the boundary of a municipality. In other words, our post office services parts of Falls Township and parts of Morrisville Borough, and although our zip code is 19067, it's associated with Morrisville, that zip code is not exclusive to Morrisville Borough.
And so it wouldn't make a difference as to the number of students attending the schools. Is that correct?
No, it would not. It
Okay,
would not.
thank you. That was my question.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
I'm unmuting now.
Okay. Terry, anyone else?
I don't see anybody else currently with their hand
All
up.
right. All right. Then I guess we're gonna move on. All right. We're gonna close public comment at this point. We're gonna move on to 6, which is approval of the minutes. I need a motion for 6A, a motion to approve the Borough Council regular meeting of March 15th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion passes. We'll move on to 7, finance. 7A, the treasurer's report. You all should have gotten that, as well as the bill list. So we move to 7B, which is a call for a motion to approve and pay the bills on the bill list. Can I have
So
a motion?
moved. So moved.
Second.
This is Nancy.
All right, you have a motion and a second. Who seconded it?
Bob.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. Virginia, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Alaho?
Yes.
Mr. Nichol?
He raised his hand because he doesn't have.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
I think we lost him.
Can you hear me? I said
Yes.
yes.
There you go. Okay,
We
thank
have a
you.
yes.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion passes. We're going to move on to 8, which is reports. 8A, a mayor's report. Is the mayor on with us? Okay. I don't think so. All right, moving on to 8B, the police chief's report.
Good evening, council. Crime for the last month is still 40% down year to date. The department was very crushed by Dave Nay's death. We did a lot of work with Dave with his cameras, and the guys were extremely upset over this situation. But even in his death, Dave donated all his cameras to the borough for our use. So we're very thankful with Dave. We spent a lot of time this week with his mother while we were doing the investigation, and afterwards, my sympathies go out to the family. Moving on, I ask you to look at the towing directive again. I need to get that towing directive passed so I can move on to other directives. And lastly, I'm very happy that we're going to consider manpower for the department. We are down manpower, probably 3 or 4 guys, officers in the past couple of years. We were up to 10 or 11, now we're down to 7. So that consideration would be very happily received by the officers that have more manpower. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I have a question for the chief while he's there. May
Yes,
I
ma'am.
ask it? In the financial, the special events revenue, what special events year to date were there? Do you know?
Do you want to answer this, Mike, or do you want me to?
You can go if you want to, Ryan.
The special events money that comes into that is all the overtime money that we get from, basically it's been from the MERT officers working for the county at the vaccination clinics. And that money's an in and out account, so it doesn't cost the borough any money, and the officers are actually making money. They make their overtime. But with me, I go there and I work 4 hours, and that money is brought back to the borough and stays with the borough. So that's what that special events is.
All right. It's a nice figure, 248%. Okay, thank you.
We didn't really budget for it. We didn't know how to budget. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on to 8C, which is the manager's report.
We have a few things going on, but I think, John, did you want to speak on what's going on with rec?
I think you're speaking of the basketball. The basketball, we purchased 4. We're going to purchase 4 new backboards, and they're going to be different. The ones we have now stand straight up. If you understand what I'm saying, they stand straight up, so the pole's right behind the backboard. So for insurance purposes and things like that, we're buying ones that will come out and stick out 4 feet past the pole. So a little safer, and they need to be replaced down there. They've been there for a long time. So just something we were purchasing. You want to speak on the other thing?
About the phones?
No, about the, yeah. So I know you probably noticed recently we had some work done here in the sewer line outside. We dug up the sewer line, we replaced a 8-foot section, almost 12-foot section, I apologize. We found out that we have more breaks coming back towards the building. So we're thinking we have to replace that whole section. It's a little bit pricey, so we're going to get some prices and looking to see if we can do it this year. If not, maybe put it on next year's, wish list. Not wish list, it has to be done. So
What is pricing?
I don't want to, we'll wait until I get prices, until I can give you a number. But it's significantly over, the minimum, or we have to go out to bid for.
It's over the threshold of 11.5, which we are required to get 3 bids. So it will be over that, but we need to see what the bids come in at.
Right. Anything else, Mike?
The other thing that John's been working on is working with Verizon to get a better phone plan and get better phone systems in here, which will approximately save us between $300 and $400 a month. And John's been spearheading that.
I have 2 things for you, John. So I was talking to Pico. They replaced the pole at the corner of Bridge Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. And maybe this is you, Micah, I'm not really sure. So they put it right in the middle of the sidewalk, and they told me they did that because of the pipes and drains and et cetera underneath. Then that was the only spare part.
Yes, I asked them that question.
Yeah.
Why did they put it there? And that's exactly what they told me.
I did that too. So there's the same situation is at the corner of Washington and I think it's Grove Street where there's right near where the old police station was. they have the same thing where there's a pole in the middle of the sidewalk. So they told me that once the borough contacts the other utilities and the other utilities take it off the old pole and put it onto the new pole, PECO will come back and take down the original pole. So can we make that happen?
Yeah, we've already reached out to them. I can tell you, we can reach out to them, but they don't move very fast. That's
Okay.
6 months. It can be 6 months or longer. We've had it multiple times here in the borough. We've worked with PECO actually to help us with that also. They'll help us too, but it's usually 6 months to a year to get that done.
Okay.
But we'll work on it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We'll keep talking and keep calling until we get somebody to do something.
Okay, and then the other thing is I had a couple of residents talk to me today about the trees that are being taken down on borough property. Why are they being taken down?
We have a lot of issues, branches falling. Pine trees they're not very strong trees. We get storms, things like that. We have branches falling on the sidewalk, close to cars.
I understand.
It also cleans up the property. It opens the property up, and we intend to plant more trees out there.
I know, but there's residents that came to me today that have been asking the borough for the trees to come down, and they also have limbs coming down and hitting cars. I mean, Stockham is a prime example. The one down on South Pennsylvania Avenue is another one, and they're very upset that the borough is taking trees down and hiring an outside agency to do it while their trees are still falling on their cars.
Yeah, it's just part of the process. I mean, there's policy that we've had in place, and we go out and we look at the trees and we assess the thing. This is something that I spoke to the former manager about. And he was in agreement that it was something that would clean the property up, and it was a danger. We had cars parked out here, so I think one that was hit, one or two have been hit before, insurance-wise. So we have to worry about that too. And I understand that. I understand the residents, but I mean, there's thousands of trees we have to kind of.
I understand. I'm just letting you know their residents are very upset.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
So.
All right, John, thanks for your time. And that's it from the manager's report.
Mike, I have a quick question. I received an email asking, back in September, Scott had mentioned movies in the park and possibly some musicians playing there. I figure with everything that went on, it may have fallen through the cracks. I'm just curious if you know anything about it or there's been any talk this year.
There hasn't been any talk, and since the borough manager's passing, there has been no further research at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have, Micah, was there anything with grants that you wanted to bring up?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Was there anything about reapplying for grants that you wanted to bring up, or no?
Yeah, there was a few that, Wade, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Wade, do you want to bring up, there's two grants that are going to, are due by the end of this month. And Wade, if you want to speak to those and see if we want to reapply. Go ahead, Wade.
Sure. So there, well, first, good evening, everyone. So there are two DCED Green Waste Trails and Recreation grants that we submitted last year, but weren't awarded. So they're currently open to be resubmitted until the 31st. So we just want to see if council wants to authorize them to be submitted again or not.
And they were 2,000 plus each for resubmittal?
For resubmittal, my guess is anywhere between 2,500 and 5,000. It depends how much they changed the submission forms from last year. But yeah, I wouldn't think they would cost much more to submit than the last grants we submitted for CDBG a few months ago, and I think those came in around 2,500 or 3,000.
Could you remind us what they're for and what their value could potentially be?
Yeah, so we have Manor Park and Playground, which I know is one we're trying to really try hard to get funded. And we have Patriots Park. So both grants would be asking for $250,000. That's the max asking amount for these grants. But obviously they'll cost more than that. Manor Park, I believe, is estimated to be like 600 to 700,000, and Patriots Park is like $1.5 million at least. So this would just help to fund those projects to at least get them started or supplement other grants that may be awarded or are already awarded.
This is Ted Parker. what would be the matching, the
Oh,
matching fund?
yes, let me bring that up. I believe it's a DCED, so I believe it's 15%, but I can actually find that out for you right now.
While he's looking that up, Micah, when we pay for these grant applications, if it's for the parks, does it come out of the general fund or does it come out of the recreation fund?
The general fund is in the, it's all under the general fund. That would come out of the recreation portion of the general fund.
Hi, yeah, I have, so the match is 15%.
15?
Yeah.
And we would be able to offset that with something else, or is it?
It says here you can use real estate value. You would need to get an appraisal for the land, so an appraisal would probably cost around $2,000 possibly.
1,000.
Yeah. So yeah, we could look into maybe getting appraisal, or if we had like, you know, for Manor Park, the 250,000 isn't going to fund the park and whole, so the grant period's of 3 years, so we'll have to secure other funding in the meantime, and I would hope that the other funding we secure could actually match against the DCD grant, because that's what we do quite often as well with these grants, is we'll have other grants put up against the matching costs.
Randy, do we need to put this to a vote, or can we just, if enough are in agreement, just direct the manager to resubmit, have them resubmitted, or?
I'd have council vote on it.
Okay. So would we like to add it to the agenda?
I would.
So do you have to open public comment again?
We can do that before the motion.
Okay.
So that would be a motion to resubmit the DCED grant applications for Manor Park and Patriots Park?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, it's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wade. And again, that concludes the manager's report.
Okay. Thank you, Micah. All right, 8D, committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Okay, we're going to move on to action items. 9A, a call for a motion to adopt the amendment to the borough fee schedule to include the fire and inspection fees. Can I have a motion?
So moved. That's Nancy.
Al. Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
This is Justin. I have some comments.
Go ahead, sir.
I know I had made the motion to table this last month and asked that we get some kind of anticipated price of what this is going to cost us that's not covered in revenues. And I haven't seen anything of that in our packets. Do we have a price like that yet?
Micah?
The prices that were given by the Donna fire marshal are the prices that we would be charging out.
Right, but I think the question was, and I'm remembering this as well, was what are we, so we start this program and we have these new fees, but what are we spending to collect those fees? And what's the, I understand that the fees will offset, and this isn't a project that's supposed to make money, but what are our anticipated expenditures going to be, and how will this offset?
In fewer words, Mike, Micah, we get the invoices versus expenses for the Keystone municipal services every month. I'd like to have something like that as an estimate of what it's going to be, what our net cost is going to be to the borough to add this program for a year.
I don't know that that was less words, but okay.
I mean, I don't know how you can forecast. It's based on what he goes out and does. If he does 100, then it would be his fee times 100. If he does 1,000, it would be that. So it's on what he does. And until we approve this price, the price list the inspection fees, he can't move forward. So this means that,
So
He can estimate that there's 200 businesses and it's going to be an hour each, and this is going to be his cost, and these are going to be his revenues for the fees.
so you said you have the numbers, you have the information. Have I done an analysis? No. But do we need to move forward on this? Yes.
I don't have the numbers. I threw 200 out there as a guess. I mean,
I thought you just said you get all the Keystone reports.
We get the
no, he's talking about the fees.
For the fees versus revenue.
Well, the fees would be his hourly rate, yes.
Right, but what I'm saying is we're about to vote to put a program in place, and we have no idea how much it's going to cost. It's going to be additional cost in the general fund at the end of the year.
Right, because last meeting, he said he was going to send us something, and I don't recall seeing it in the packet.
Don said he was going to send something?
Yeah,
He sent the price list. That's what he was referring to.
I thought he was going to give us a little more than that.
Not that I recall.
So I think the confusion here, and I'm good right now. It sounds like they've already done this work, and what they're doing is they're giving us a fee schedule that should break us even. If that's the case, and that's why he sent out the price list, then I understand. And that's what it sounded like to me is the work's already been done to assess the fee, and the fee is going to cover the hourly rate, so it should be same in, same out is really what it sounds like.
I disagree with your analysis there, Mike, but we feel free to do that.
All right.
He's doing fire inspections now. Like, are these specific to industries? Is that what it is? Or businesses, right?
This is a comprehensive plan that we would start up where he would go into every single business and do an inspection.
Right.
Right. So it's more for the business.
Yes and no,
Right
though,
now,
Justin.
he does inspection reports based on fires that happen. They'll go out and report.
Right, that's different.
I'm going to say my understanding is some of this stuff is already being done when he's there. We just don't have a way to charge for it because there's no fee schedule.
Right.
Mike, is that accurate? That's my understanding.
That was my understanding as well.
And my understanding is the fire company, in my conversations with the chief, support this kind of inspection process because some of the things that they have found while responding to calls put their members at severe risk.
I don't disagree that it's probably needed, but like I said in the last meeting, the council needs to at least have a price and know what it's going to cost before we can.
Well, I kind of agree with Mike that I'm not quite sure that, I mean, you would price it to cover the expenses. I mean, you're not quite sure until you actually do the inspection. I mean, I understand we want to be sure that we're going to break even, but I'm not quite sure that you could expect an inspector who hasn't actually gone out and done the inspections in that facility to be spot on. But I mean,
To your point, Ted, I believe Keystone is the second largest provider in the state. They do know how long these things take. They're not guessing. They do these things all the time.
I'm not besmirching
No, I think
their
I'm
abilities.
agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you that they should know. I don't think it's a guess. I think they do know.
I just think what they don't know is the different particulars for each business.
And I think that's any place, anywhere.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you can examine the same property twice and have a completely different inspection each time.
Ted, can I say something, Ted?
Go ahead.
You know, historically, these meetings have gone on forever. We've been talking about this for 10 minutes, and all this could have been alleviated. Justin asked for something simple last month. He just requested a fee schedule. Like, why, if he would have had his question answered or his data provided that he asked for, which I don't think would have been that difficult to get, we wouldn't have been talking about this for 10 minutes. Like, that's the root of the problem. Justin asked for something simple and he didn't get it.
But
I
it's
think
not-
they believe they
but it's not
gave
that
it to
simple.
us. That's the difference. They believe they gave it to us, which is their word saying that this is what it's going to cost us to do it. You're going to break even with these numbers. They believe they answered the question.
We did get something. We got a packet just a couple months ago. Yeah, 2
Right.
months ago. And it was multiple pages. It's not just on one page.
I
And
mean, my last comment on this is when we had Keystone reevaluate all the code enforcement and permit fees, it was to try to make it best to be break even, but we're still paying probably $70,000 to $90,000 a year for it. So I'd like to have some sort of estimate in the ballpark before I vote on this, because if we break even, great, we should do it. If it's going to cost us $100,000 a year, we should know that, because that's a $2 million tax increase, or $2 million we're going to have to take from somewhere else come a few months.
Yeah, but there's a portion of that work that you're talking about that the borough does internally, and we do have expenses associated with it and personnel and so forth. So that's really the problem there. Is it's not really apples to apples. This is one process that they're saying this portion is something they do end to end, and this is what it should cost to do it. They're already out there doing these inspections. If they have a way to charge for them, these same visits, they're going to be able to increase the fees and make it equivalent to what they're actually doing, I believe.
I'll just say this, in my industry, there's a term that I'm looking for. It's called swag. It's a scientific wild AS blank guess. And it's basically your best guess. So if you're reading into what they've said, I'd like them to come out on paper and say that these are the fees that they think will break us even. And if that's the case and it's not going to cost us anything, then great. But if they think it's going to cost us something, we should know our cost up front.
I agree, but that's what the fee schedule is. It's their word to us that this is what we need to charge to break even, because you can't make money off of it.
we've already adopted the borough fee schedule. This is just an amendment to it. So we basically have a contract with them already. And we do know that we have to have, I know we've talked about this for years, to have these fire inspections at these larger locations. Right. So, you know what? And if it's a bust, then take it out. I mean, just do it. I mean,
or adjust the fees to
just adjust it. I mean, yeah, just to make them higher, whatever. I mean, we have to take the first step here. We have to,
right.
We have to move our foot forward.
At the end of the day, we have the ability, if we see the price escalating, to shut down anything. We still aren't doing sidewalk inspections like we were because of COVID-19. We put an end to that one. We could put an end to any one we want.
That's right. So if we think this is an important piece and a proponent to keep everybody safe, including our volunteer fire company, then I think we should move forward. And if it is a bust, or it's not right, or it's too wrong, or it's too expensive, whatever the reason, then we reevaluate it and eliminate it or keep it.
Sounds good.
We have a motion. I'd say let's call the motion.
All right.
But I'm not the prez.
Nope, but I agree with you. Anybody else want to add anything before we vote? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. 9B, a motion to adopt the PNC bank resolution for a new bank account between the Borough of Morrisville and Robert Luna, retiree. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Luna for his service.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'd like to point out, just for the public's knowledge, that this is a normal process that takes place when there's a retired officer.
Anyone else? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. 9C, a call for a motion to approve the payment in the amount of $110,000 to the Morrisville Fire Company per their 2021 Fire Fund budget, contingent upon receipt of their 2020 financial statement, schedule of events, current roster, and 2020 audit. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All of us.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
I would just say, for the person keeping the minutes, which was Virginia, I think, do you have two people's names there, Virginia, for this?
For first and second?
Yeah.
Yes, I have you as first and Mike Yeager as second.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. 9D, a call for a motion to approve the payment in the amount of $59,000 to Capital Health EMS per the 2021 EMS fund budget contingent upon receipt of their 2020 financial statement and audit. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
This is Justin. This just popped in my head while we were reading this. How long is our agreement with them for? When does it run through? Is it up this year or was it a 5-year agreement?
I remember.
Honestly, don't remember off the top of my
Yeah, I
head.
don't remember.
Maybe something just to, throw to Micah, if you could look into, just to make sure we keep on top of it. We need to go out for it again. But
Again, this is the
otherwise,
agreement with Capital Health.
Yes.
Right, I'll look into it and talk to Mr. Boozin, see what he has on his side.
Now, can this dollar amount change depending on their financial statement and their audits? Because they probably have a much better process of getting insurance money, whereas the volunteers did not. So is it possible that we can reduce this?
No.
No.
This is done as part of it's the millage for the and it's per contract. We have a contract with them with a set amount.
Even if
the
we
millage-
reduced
When that
it,
con-
it would
when
be a
that
reduction in
contract is up.
taxes. It wouldn't change anything because
Right.
whatever millage we get for that has to go to them.
Right.
Can't be used for anything else.
right, but we could always get rid of it if you could
We
negotiate.
could lower
Right.
taxes, yeah. Yeah, you could lower taxes, but you can't change that this year.
And I'm going to tell you right now, being in the business, there's not a significant amount of reimbursement to make any contract a zero bid. All right, motion and a second. We had discussion. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. All right, moving on to 9E, a call for a motion to award the contract for the 2021 road paving program to General Asphalt Paving, Inc. in the amount of $151,103.07, subject to the allotted 2021 state highway funds fully covering the winning bid total. Bid results provided by the borough manager. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, I have a question for Wade.
Sure.
Could you tell me how it was supposed to be base bid plus minus and then plus alternate 1 and 2, right?
So, I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that's all right. I came up with a different figure, so I don't know what I don't know what I'm looking at that's not right.
So the recommended award is the total base bid minus deduct bid number 1 plus alternate bids number 1 and 2.
Right.
Correct.
So, okay. So could you just do you mind reading out that figure if you have it or no?
Yeah, I just
Well,
opened it. Give me one
actually, I have
second.
it.
Let's zoom in here.
I think the first one was 151.
All right, so the base bid total is $131,296,042. Deduct bid 1 is $9,596, so you're subtracting that from the base bid, so it leaves you with about $121 million.
Right.
Plus alternate bids 1 and 2, which are $16,563.76 and $12,838.93 respectively. So that brings you up to 120, 131, 130. Yeah, it should bring you right to 151 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Would you mind for the public, the alternate 1 and 2? I think 1 is Legion to Lafayette. Is that right? What did
Yeah,
just
one,
dropped on
one,
the floor.
yeah, one
Could you
is,
just-
Maybe just let the public know which
Public know
you know.
what we're
Sure.
paving. Yeah, exactly.
sure. Let me just bring up the descriptions for 'em. All right, so alternate bid number 1 is North Lafayette Avenue from Hillcrest Ave to Clymer Ave. And then alternate bid number 2 is Keystone Avenue from Westbridge Street to Woodland Avenue. And then deduct bid, hold on, I just lost my screen. And then deduct bid number 1 is Hillcrest Avenue, which from Pennsylvania Avenue to Stockham Avenue.
So Wade, in plain English, that means we're doing all of Hillcrest except for that block from Stock
Yes, exactly.
Avenue. And why aren't we doing that?
So my understanding is that, and I discussed this with Mike and John later, that so there's a pipe that's cracked that runs underneath of Hillcrest Avenue on that block, and it's going to have to get repaired, hopefully at some point within the next year, and we don't want to pave over it just to tear that up again. There's no point in doing that, so we'd rather save it for the next road program.
There's a lot of activity on Hillcrest and North Lafayette these days. I mean,
right.
I guess they're putting gas pipes in also. So it's really getting torn up. So I understand that. Thank you to John Lader and the crew, and I guess to Wade as well, that they coordinated the fact that they were waiting for these pipes to get in before we decide to, it's not easy to coordinate large companies sometimes, but it happened. So.
Anyone
Okay.
else? Anyone else wish to comment? All right. I guess we can do it. What can say? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0.
Thanks for your time, Wade.
Yes, thank you, Wade.
Welcome.
9F, a call for a motion for the borough to co-sponsor a flea market hosted by the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park. The flea market will be at no cost to the borough, and the borough will waive all borough fees for the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park. The location, date, and time to be approved by the borough manager, proof of insurance, and all necessary items to be provided by the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park prior to the event being held. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
Where is this going to be held? At the dog park?
So Helen, this is Justin. I sent this in to council as a member of the Friends of the Morrisville Dog Park. We had a couple people that were interested in holding it on the open space land directly adjacent to the dog park, between the dog park and the river.
I saw that in the packet, but there was also a discussion about parking, and I don't know if that was ever resolved.
So it wasn't resolved, and that's why we have this up for a motion tonight, so that we can talk about it and either decide to allow the Friends of the Dog Park to have it there, restrict how many tables or people that they can anticipate to use it. In a sense, the package was to have a flea market, and the people who put it together for the members of the Friends of the Dog Park were proposing well over 100 tables. And in a dual role as council member and Friends of the Dog Park, I told them as a seated council member, I would never approve 100 tables plus there, because there is no parking for everybody, and it's just too small of an area for that number of vendors and that number of people that may flux in if there's over 100 tables. So I was gonna say, my logic on that is council can either, limit the number of tables or ask that it be moved to Williamson Park, which has a much bigger parking lot and a better setup. On one side, the draw is to help out the dog park. You're right next to the dog park, and you can draw people in that way. And on the other side is it's not an adequate space for a big event, but I don't know how big this event will be, given that it's the first time that it's going to be done, and also originally we wanted to do it in June, but given that it had to come before council, I don't know that that's a realistic timeline. That's why it kind of says in here with approval of the borough manager. So it may be something that we could give the borough manager authority to approve something that's reasonable in his mind. Council may want to, vote no, may want to postpone a vote, but it's up for discussion. And I'll stop there. If people have questions, I can try to answer it. And I think Kim Connor, who spoke earlier, was one of the people who put this together for the Friends of the Dog Park. So if we have questions for her that I can't answer, we can jump to her.
So who owns the parking spot across the street from the old firehouse? That parking asphalt.
That's attached to that firehouse building. That was a church. I don't know what's there now.
Yeah, it's privately owned, and they're not interested in letting us use it. At least they weren't in the past, and it's in pretty bad shape. I wouldn't even want to use it for an event currently.
Yeah.
So Justin, here's my 2 cents on it. It's not a really great spot for a flea market because there's really not a whole lot of cross traffic. So my concerns of there being so many people there that the parking's going to get out of control, I don't think that's going to happen. I think half of the people that stop at a flea market are stopping because they're driving by it and it catches their eye. We will have a lot of people from the borough show up. I'm sure I'll go. I don't mind. I don't see it as a huge issue as a one-day event to have parking on that street around the dog park. When you have the vendors on the lot with their cars, I'm assuming they're going to be parked with their tables like most flea markets do. You're going to have to limit the amount just based on size. I think Williamson Park is a great idea, but I think you're going to have a hard time scheduling it for an entire day on a weekend. I think your availability and Micah, stop me if I'm wrong. I believe Morrisville Little League has already pretty much picked their weekends, correct?
Yes, we do have Morrisville Little League schedule, so this would have to be coordinated with Lorraine and myself with the dates if we were going to move it to the park.
So for me personally, I think it's a good idea to let them have it. I don't, as like you mentioned, for the first run, you don't know how many people are going to show up anyway. I really don't see this as some kind of quagmire. And if it is, good for them. They're going to have lots of people out and, maybe a couple people complaining that there's too much traffic in the neighborhood for a couple hours. But that's a minimal impact, in my opinion, for an organization that's done such a great job with that park, keeping it up. Their fundraising abilities haven't been what they had been in the past years because of COVID-19, and they need to buy poop bags. So I'm in support of them doing this because they need to have a good fundraiser.
So
Can I say something, Justin?
Can I comment just to clarify something to Mike's before you go? In case the original proposal was for 10 by 10 spaces, which wouldn't fit a car, which is why I was worried about 50 cars alone being parked on the streets.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Justin. I don't think we actually want cars parked up on that grassy area. I wouldn't think. But I mean,
cars there before it's got the drainage.
It depends on whether we have rain before the night.
Right.
I'm for it, and I think that you could probably even have it. Coordinate it in the Williamson Park, down in the in front of the stage area, because that is no longer a, that's not a field that they use. So, and that's pretty big. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you were to get some numbers ahead of time where people actually, gave you deposits and you had a better handle on the number, then I guess maybe you can make your choice at that time.
I was going to say that myself for my 2 cents. I think 100 tables is extremely optimistic for a flea market, especially the first time. But if
hey, who knows?
You get 100, great, but maybe that's the point at which, the motion is not specific to the location, right? I didn't.
Right.
No.
So so if you were able to get 100 tables, and you possibly may need to move it, I mean, it doesn't restrict you from moving it.
Right.
I mean, I wish you 100 tables, honestly. But I'm okay with the motion the way it is, so that
Me too.
the borough manager gets to decide, the location depending on, how many people you might have, and as far as tables and, vendors, and that'll ultimately affect the traffic. I mean, if you have less tables, you would have, maybe possibly less traffic because you'd have less people parking. So, I mean, I'm okay with moving forward. I was in the email chain where that Justin had forwarded me, and it's very enthusiastic members of the town who are, who got this together and then went to the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park to work together with them, and I think that's what we need more of. We need more people to come forward and help put things on in the borough, and so I'm okay with it personally. Anyone else?
No, I'm okay as it stands. It's vague enough to be able to change.
Exactly. Is that okay with you, Justin?
Yeah, that's okay.
This is for the bad pun intended. This is your puppy, so.
Yeah. It is tough for them to get you a number, just because I'm thinking of one of the reasons is they want to start advertising it months in advance. To advertise it months in advance, you put out flyers of where it's at. So to advertise, to get people interested to be a vendor to come, it's.
Well, you can restrict it too. I mean, the 100 is just, just a hopeful estimate.
Yes.
I mean, so, you can self-regulate it if I don't imagine the people who are putting this on want to create a problem, because this is something they'd like to continue doing, and working with, with the Friends of the Park, and the borough manager. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm okay with moving forward, and I trust that everybody working together will make sure that this is a success and not an issue.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just since hopefully, if we're over that, I have one more comment that's related to this, but I don't want to get back into the details of this. One of the things, and Ted, you're aware from this, from the email chain, that this brought about was the use of the open space land as a fee rental, or as a rental for a full-blown event sort of thing. And we don't currently have anything like any mention of it in our fee schedule or our policies. So maybe something we want to consider for the future is, do we want to rent this space out for events if people want to have them there? And by events, I know the only other event that I know that's there's that I don't qualify as an event is the Earth Day thing, because there's no vendors. It's a bunch of people get together and do an Earth Day celebration.
Right.
Whereas the Friends of the Morrisville Dog Park were looking to charge people to use the space and to reserve the table, and possibly in the future have a food truck or 2 food trucks. So that's more of an event than what's currently being used for. So we may want to look at a policy and fee schedule and put in the fee schedule.
Okay. It's definitely something to look at moving forward. So, but anybody else wish to comment on this motion before we go for a vote? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Best of luck to them.
Thank you.
9G, call for a motion to approve the Labor Day picnic to be held in Williamson Park on Monday, September 6th, 2020, with a rain date of Saturday. Did I say March or did
How
I
about
say September?
2021?
2020.
How about 2021?
20.
Yeah.
That's because that's what it says in the motion, 2021, sorry. With a rain date of Saturday, September 11th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
Ted,
I
I
think
didn't
this
see
is-
anything in our email from the mayor on this. Is he planning on doing it, or did he request this, or is we just approving it so it's done ahead of time?
I think we're approving it, so it's done ahead of time.
This is normally I think, Virginia brings up past years and just uses a format, and this is about the time we normally approve it, so that's
Right.
probably why it's there. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter because we already have it.
On enough now.
All right, so I'm okay with voting on it. I mean, we can, this way we have it on the calendar.
Mhm.
Okay. So, anybody else? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. All right, 9H, a motion to direct the administration to start the process to hire, full-time officers, police officers. Can I have a motion?
Well, can we put a
Motion.
number?
What?
I'll second it, but you didn't put the number. Can we put the number in?
I would think, well, let's do that during, well, yeah, you're right.
You have to have a number.
We can make the motion and then amend the motion for the number.
No, that doesn't
No.
make any sense.
No.
Randy?
I would say 2. If it fails, then we go back to 1.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I don't,
I think it's better to have the number in it.
You want to have a number? Okay.
Yeah, I
thought
think
okay.
it's better, it's clearer, otherwise you don't know what you're really.
All right. Do we want to start at 2? Okay. So motion to direct the administration to start the process to hire 2 full-time police officers.
Motion.
We had a motion in a second. Discussion.
I'm sorry, who was the second, Ted?
well, maybe me. I don't know. I thought I was
Yeah.
the first and then Scott, so it doesn't matter. Could be anybody.
All right. Discussion.
This is Justin. I'd just like to start out and say I'm fine with right off the bat hiring one to replace the officer that just recently retired. As for 2, I question the need for it because we haven't been getting much information from the chief saying that he needs it other than a memo in January and then now. Pitcher was fired quite a while ago, and it seems like we've made it by without the chief being up here every month saying needs the manpower. So I'd be fine with 1, and if the chief wants more, I'd like to see some more backup from him as to why, such as hours needed to be covered, or his schedule showing that how problematic it is to get people to cover.
I mean,
I
personally, I
agree with
remember.
Justin.
Me too.
All right. Scott, how do I handle this? Do we amend the motion to move it to
No.
1 or do?
I would
Well,
ask
I
you not
vote.
to amend the
We'll see
motion.
if it passes.
You see if it
Hold on,
passes.
hold on. Just stop one second, just everyone, just relax. There's a motion, there's a second, you've had a discussion. There hasn't been a motion to amend it or to whatever. So if that's the case, you could vote it. If the motion fails, another motion can be made. If it passes,
Okay.
then there's no need
I
to
just
make
wanted to
another motion.
confirm.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
good. You're good.
Quick point of order question. If we do another, will that still fall under the same motion, or do we then need to open public comment again?
Well, he said at the beginning that it would be 1 or 2. He left it blank, so I think that would cover
Yeah.
it, right, Mike?
Okay. I don't know. I'm asking. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just procedurally, I want to make sure we get it done right.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you do it before this vote, they've had the opportunity. They've not.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure.
All right. All right. So we have a motion. We have this for 2 full-time officers. We've had discussion. Virginia, roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Bowers?
No.
You need public comment.
We did it, or we asked for it already. I mean, we did the motion before we went
Actually,
to public comment.
I made the motion on. Can I withdraw the motion and then we can do it again with just 1, or do we have to vote on this one now?
We have to vote on it.
Okay.
And just for the record, this motion was added prior to public comment. All right, Virginia, start the roll call again, please.
Yes. Mr. Bowers?
No.
Ms. Alaho?
No.
Mr. Nichol?
It's a yes. Mr. Nichols is showing a yes.
Okay, thank you. I can't,
I'm sorry. Under the Borough Code, I think we need to have some kind of sound for Mr. Nickel. Borough Code says all votes have to be by a voice vote. So I don't know what his problem is. Perhaps this still can confirm.
Just a word, yes or no, a piece of paper, hold it up.
He still needs to be
You can
verbal.
write
The
on a
public
piece of
needs to
paper,
hear.
yes, and hold it up, or a piece of no, or no.
Wayne, can you write it on a piece of paper and hold it up? You have a yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
No.
Mr. Parker?
Yes. Motion passes
5-3.
5-3. Okay.
Can I just, can I make a statement, though? Going forward, I think we need to have more than just a memo saying, I need personnel. I think we need to have a little more analytics to show the need, and not just, we have 7, we used to have 10, now we have 9 now. And it's not just at you, the chief, it's for everything in the borough. There needs to be more justification for salaries and employees. That's just my 2 cents.
All right. Gonna go on to item 9I. I'm gonna read the motion and then we'll open it up to public comment, since it's an addition after public comment. Call for a motion to resubmit the DCED grant applications for the playground at Manor Park and for Patriots Park. All right, I'm opening it up for public comment.
No, no comment.
No comment?
It doesn't look like we have any comments.
Okay. No, I don't hear anybody online, so. All right, discussion, please.
You have a who's the motions? Who made the motion?
Oh,
We
I read
haven't
the
done
motion, I'm sorry, right? Can I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's moved and seconded, discussion. All right. Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Vallejo?
Yes.
Mr. Nickel?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 8-0. All right. We're moving on to 10, done with action items. Moving on to 10, other business. 10A, discussion of possible borough shredding event. Micah, would you like to?
Yes, this was sent out, I believe, Wednesday to council to see if there's any interest in doing a shredding event. Again, this would be just a shredding event for paper, and I believe there is a fee and going to be incurred, an hourly fee to have those trucks here. And this is nothing that I personally am promoting, but I saw come through and wanted the council to have to review it and have their opinions.
What is the hourly fee?
It was in the memo that we sent out.
I didn't see that memo, so what was the hourly fee?
I don't have it in front of me. That's why we sent the memo out.
I believe it was $295 per truck per hour, I believe, and I can pull that.
That sounds about right. I've done these before. They end up running about $1,200 for 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't, I don't understand. you know, we have the opportunity to have them through State Rep Perry Warren, and I think we should check first to see if he's doing another one this
Yeah.
spring, and also Steve Sanacero does them on occasion, and so I think we should research first to find out the free ones, and go to the state. I mean, I used Perry's last year.
That
I'd
be concerned with that the location. These things get very swamped with traffic, and I mean, if you're going to do it down the island, you're talking about, you know, blocking up Delmore Avenue big time
On a weekend.
Yeah, on a very busy weekend anyway. We really don't. If you're going to do it at the borough, you have a shot, but it's gonna pull in a lot of traffic from all over the area, not just from the borough.
And I think they usually, do they ask for volunteers to help them, or is that all part of the fee?
Sometimes.
No.
What about, could we ask the state reps to sponsor it and have them pay for it and have it in our borough?
You could try.
You could try. They probably want to open it up to others, though. I mean, in their district, they probably, if they're going to sponsor, they probably want to make sure it's in their district. So it wouldn't be just our borough.
Towns can hold their own and have them sponsor it too.
I didn't hear that, Justin. I'm sorry.
I said the other towns can hold their own event and have them sponsor it as well.
Well, normally I go to these events, and they are open to Bucks County. The last one I went to was in Newtown. Sometimes they're at Oxford Valley Mall. I don't know if that we have a place big enough, because they kind of have the car lanes, and then the trucks sitting there, and then you ride through, and then you have to leave. So I don't know where we would hold it.
I'd like to see us check with our state reps first to find out if, number one, Justin said, if they'd sponsor, or if they're having one soon that would be available for everybody to go to. And if we think it's a little too far away, because I'm also remembering the one in Newtown, maybe we can find another location closer. I don't know. Can't think of one right off the top of my head, but before we spend the money, I think that we should try to find a free one first. Sorry, cost free. I didn't want to sound too cheap.
Yeah, I'm with Nancy. If we can find something, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't people that want it, but of, all the people that I talk to in town, I don't think I've ever had anyone ask me when we're going to do a shredding event. They, ask about their taxes. They say their garbage didn't get picked up. They said their package got stolen, their mail got misdelivered, and the potholes are bad and whatnot. But no one's ever asked me about a shredding event. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but people that I've talked to in town, it hasn't. I don't see spending like, what Mike said, like $1,200 for 4 hours.
Shredding one's own
my 2 cents.
Shredding one's own documents have become much more popular now than they were even just 5 years ago. So.
Oh, I know that. I know.
So I think, which is just another reason.
I mean, it's just for discussion right now, and I think a good idea came up that we should maybe reach out to the state reps' offices and find out if this is something they'd like to do in our area or do in the borough, and then go from there. All right. Going to move on to 11, borough officials. Anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, I have something, Ted. I went down yesterday. It's been an ongoing issue with the recycling truck and the garbage truck on Center Street. I know Nancy's familiar with this issue too. Yesterday, I took a ride down. Actually, I've driven down several times, but yesterday in particular, I went down in the afternoon, and there was a vehicle parked at the end of Center Street. There's like if you came down across the Red Bridge, off the gravel and the grass, and then when you got to the pavement at the intersection where Palmer resumes with the blacktop and the Center Street right there, there was a vehicle that was parked right on that corner. And then if you continued walking that way, there's a telephone pole on the other side of Center Street on the corner Center and East Palmer. I had a difficult time getting my car through there. There's no way that a truck would get through there. Now this morning I drove by and the Jeep that was parked there was moved and it was up like in front of the house at like the house on East Palmer. I know I'm just throwing these. You probably don't know what I'm saying in the intersection, but anyway, I'll just cut to it. If there's any way we can get no parking signs down there for that area, just for Mondays and Thursdays from 9 to 12, and then let Republic know you need to get down that street between 9 and 12. Because I talked to the Republic guys last week, and they're really nice guys. 2 different sets of employees on 2 different trucks. And I mean, they couldn't have been kinder. I mean, they were really good. And I mentioned that Center Street, and the guy said to me, I can't get the truck around there. And then he said he tried backing down the street coming off of Union, but he said the couple times that he's tried backing down, somebody's driving down the street in their car and like they won't move. They won't let him back up down the street. So there's really nothing he can do. So if there's something we could do about no parking, like a no parking sign on Center in front of like the first house, and then maybe a bigger no parking sign or no parking from here to corner on East Palmer, because there is a sign there on East Palmer, but it's a small little parking sign that says no parking here to corner. There's 2 of them. Maybe one that's a little bit bigger, or maybe another one to really try to remind people not to park there.
That's right. I don't even understand how that guy parks his car there. Like, you can't even get a car through. He's pretty brave parking his car there.
Yesterday afternoon, I could barely fit my car around that curve. If I was driving a UPS truck, which is smaller than a Republic garbage truck, I wouldn't have been able to fit down there. And a no parking sign and some yellow paint on the curb, And even if you do that, I'll go down there and I'll knock on the 5 or 6 doors that are in an area and say, listen, we just fixed a problem out here. Don't screw it up. No parking here. Don't park there. And it's not like you're not ruining their lives or whatever. It's 6 hours a week they can't park there. Mondays and Thursdays from 9 to 12 or whatever, 12 to 3. And just let Republic know, listen, this is your window to get down that street. Make sure you're down there, you get in there and get out during that time, and it'll be clear. And if it's not clear, then, we call the chief and he tows the vehicle. It's that simple.
I have something, Mr. President.
Go ahead, sir.
So while we're here on this call or this Zoom, my wife and her good friend Margie Brigham are watching this meeting, and they actually had a decent suggestion for the dog park folks of possibly having their flea market at Patriots Park. It's a huge open area with parking. That might be the key to the whole event and getting a lot of people there. So I just wanted to throw that out because I thought it was a good suggestion.
Where, and just park around the neighborhood?
Well, there's a parking lot too. Yeah, there's a parking lot too, though.
Well, that only holds 26 cars, though.
Yeah, but for a flea market, people come in and out, right? They come, they walk through.
Listen, this is Kim Connor, and I'm part of the people who want to do the dog park flea market thing. It was kind of like hey, what can we do for the dog park? And we would really like to do something to raise some money because, we need water fountains, et cetera, et cetera. So we're totally amenable to doing whatever the council needs.
I guess the meeting's over. She needs to be told she can't just talk.
Sharon, is this on our side?
But I didn't.
This happened before.
Why is this happening?
It's the internet service.
I know, but why? I mean, it happened last time. Did you call them? Did you tell them?
I don't, there's nothing you can do, call them, it's like your internet going out of your house.
Rarely
Same thing.
happens. Rarely happens.
I understand that, but it's the same thing. You call them and they'll tell you, internet went down, there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm talking to Terry now.
Do they
The meeting's
know,
probably still going on.
do they know that they can't?
I just let Terry know.
The meeting doesn't count. We're not there.
There's a number of votes, so you did the business.
I get it. Hopefully they said all adjourned.
Let's go home. Or is it busy day?
Right?
There, back.
They probably adjourned.
Probably will be there.
I will be very happy when everybody's back here, because this is about work.
Surprised nobody brought it up at the meeting. See, try to get people to start facing back in and making the decision to come back.
Well, it should be, because as of now, you don't have to wear masks. Right, Micah?
I don't think did something official come from the governor? I didn't see anything.
I thought it was official.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Everything's off Memorial Day weekend, that Friday.
I thought that's what he said.
I did suggest I spoke earlier.
You did, Jane. I heard you.
Yes,
I'm always here.
We're back next month, everybody.
I believe that more council people should be sitting here for the
You
public.
should be there. Because there's no restrictions, there's no reason to have everybody to. You've been here very regularly.
I agree. I agree.
You
are in the meeting
Who
now.
are uncomfortable, feel free to either call in, or if we can work out a Zoom that we don't have horrific feedback. But yeah, we definitely have to start having some kind of, normal meetings. This is just, I mean, the interruptions have been, for a good reason, but they're just in the wrong place and they're interrupting our official meeting.
Okay, guys, I think we're back with you. We lost you for about 5 or so minutes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
do you want to talk about the Little League Memorandum of Understanding, or do you want to do it some other time?
I was going to do it when I actually got to speak.
Okay.
When I'm able to. There were two things I wanted to say, and then that would be one of them.
I'm sorry, did you guys adjourn the meeting or are we still on?
No, we got disconnected because of internet issues.
So did we adjourn the meeting?
No, we did not. I'm
We're
still
waiting.
waiting.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
No, I have two things I need to bring up.
Well, I don't know if you have, I don't know you have all council people back. I don't see Robinson, I don't see Mike, I don't know about Justin.
We're all here, right?
I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Robinson and Justin are there,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, at this point, this is just borough officials. This is no voting, no nothing like that. All right. The first thing is Morrisville Little League has reached out to both the borough administration and myself and Bob Paul about wanting to meet to discuss the MOU. So there's some things they wanted to discuss, and I think an ad hoc committee to have some council members meet with them is probably the best option at this point. So I'd like to form an ad hoc committee and ask for volunteers. I know Mr. Paul wants to be involved.
Right.
I'll jump in if you need me.
Great.
Okay, Mike, so you're volunteering?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a third person? Anybody else want to volunteer?
Dwayne?
Guess you need Do you need your yes paper again?
No,
Okay.
we got you.
We got it.
All right, so we
you,
got
Dwayne.
3 people. Okay, so I don't have any dates or anything yet, but I can let them know that we have 3 council members who wish to talk to them.
Yeah, I'll
and then
get in
report
touch
back
with
to
Mike
council.
and Dwayne to find out their availability along with Jim
Okay.
O'Brien. And we'll work
And then
something
you
out.
can, exactly. Okay.
Who were the 3 people? Mike, Nichols, and
Nancy.
Nancy.
No.
No.
No, not
Dwayne,
me.
it's Dwayne, Mike, and me. If anyone else wants to join, you're certainly welcome to.
Mike Jagger.
I think. All right. So the last thing is just simply a reminder that tomorrow is primary day. The poll hours are from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There are some state constitutional amendments that are on the ballot. That voting for those amendments is open to members of all parties. And the locations, depending on ward, are at the senior center in the 1st ward, the library, the basement in the library for the 2nd ward, and the school cafeteria for the 3rd ward, and the school cafeteria in Grandview school is for the 4th ward. And again, the hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And also 8 p.m. is the deadline for any drop-off ballots that you may have at the county. And that's it.
Ted, do you
yeah.
need to mention that grant?
Which one?
The solid rock?
No,
Okay. Done. All right.
that was their grant, so no. Okay.
Yeah, I just have one more announcement.
Go ahead, sir.
Memorial Day this year, the Memorial Day Parade hosted by the fire company is back on and starting at 9 o'clock a.m. sharp. And we'll conclude with a small ceremony held at the cemetery. And on their Facebook page, it says, unfortunately, this year they won't be hosting the community back at the firehouse for food and beverages because of COVID.
All right, thank you. Anybody else real quick? All right, hearing none. Move on to 12. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that a yes, Dwayne?
Yay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.